The recording has started. So hi, everybody that wasn't here today. So welcome to the recording. I'm remembering to record today. And very happy to have everyone here. That Kathleen may be coming a little bit late, so we may have an additional person, but the four of us are here now. So what I'd love to do for check-in is I'd love to have everybody, first of all, just check in. How are you? What's been happening in your week? But also hear if you've practiced any creativity and how you practiced self-love and self-compassion this week. You may have to rack your brain to figure it out, but I want to hear at least one example of it if possible. So, Julianne, would you start since you were the first one here?
So what I've done for self-care?
Well, just how are you? What have you done this week? Sort of checking in just in terms of arriving. And if you've done any self-care or self-compassion, and if you've practiced any creativity.
Okay. So, hello. This week I've done exercise. That's my thing every day. I've been running and biking, and I go to the gym with the girls. I went to the gym today. I just got out of the shower, so I have wet hair. I work on the weekends with two different little girls, and I took the one girl to the lake, so we got to go to the lake for the first time this year, which was nice.
Nice.
Nothing else really.
Okay, great. It was an okay summer week.
It's been really hot. I napped. One day I was so tired I took a nap. So I guess that's self-care.
It is. Okay, great. Yeah, hot and heat. I'm envious of. It's hard to remember. It's hard to remember hot and heat. We've had really cold weather. Last night was below freezing, and it felt like it. Yeah. How about you, Stacy? How's your week been? What have you been doing? Practice any self-care, self-love, creativity?
Pretty much just working. It's been pretty stressful at work, but yeah, creativity. I got a bunch of my old recipes out, and I was planning on trying to make something, but I ended up kind of putting a salad together. That was about as far as I got, but I wanted to get in my craft room and maybe make a card or something, but I didn't get to that either, but it's on my list. And
that's okay.
I'm pretty good for self-care. I did pretty good. I was kind of, well, not really, but compassion. I made a few mistakes at work with all the stress, and I didn't really get down on myself as much as I usually sometimes do. So I noticed. Yeah.
That's big steps. Why is work so stressful at the moment?
There's just a lot going on, and my coworker, it's only us two in the office, and she's been gone a lot. So
okay.
I just have a lot of extra stuff going on, and we have a bunch of thrift stores up here that we own, and one of them's not doing too well, so it's been kind of stressful working with them.
And you have to kind of oversee the books on that, and so do you have to be the heavy sometimes?
Well, actually, my coworker gets to actually do that, but it's just the store manager has been really down on herself, so I've been trying to help her, telling her you have to be,
more self-compassionate. Yes,
I can send you all these, resources and links to help work on it.
I love it. Share them. Oh, wonderful. That's one of the best ways to actually learn it for ourselves is when we start teaching it. We really enforce it.
It's easier to try and help somebody else than it is to work on it yourself.
Yep, always. Always. How about you, Rosie? How's your week been?
Well, I've had an interesting week. I've been getting into my creative work. I've been really enjoying that. I'm making feather brooches again, which is something I love doing. And I was really getting into those. And then whilst I was doing all that close-up work, I started getting these interesting neon butterflies in my eye. So I ended up, my self-care for the week has been going to see an optometrist and then being sent to hospital to an eye clinic and having an eye injection, which has been very intriguing. not something I really wanted to do with my week, but hey, here I am. And for other self-care this morning. The hospital was yesterday, and that was a big day and a big long day because it's a 2-hour drive to the nearest hospital and a long wait and a long day and all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to have to go back for more tests and stuff later on. But in the meantime, I'm functional. So today I went to my naturopath and did some other kind of work, which was really good. And I love her. And it felt really good to follow up that kind of an event with visiting one of my wise woman friends, of whom I'm fortunate to have many.
Right. Oh, fantastic. And did she have any input or any ideas around the eye?
Yes, she had some ideas. And I mean, I've had this really bad cold for a week too, which has not been much fun. So we're just working on stuff. She's really cool. She does live blood analysis, so you can see what's going on really fast.
Oh, okay.
We're working on some things.
Great.
But mostly I've really enjoyed, whilst I've been making the feather work, I've been doing some writing from our group, and I've really enjoyed that. Doing this group with you all has really helped me and is still helping me. It's like, it's that impetus. I know that I'm going to see you each week, and it makes me really want to do something more.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Yeah, that's the beauty of working in a group. It sort of holds us more to be a little more accountable and sort of thinking, oh God, I want to say something that I've done, and you just...
I just look forward to seeing everyone and seeing how we're all doing. It's lovely.
Yeah, me too. I do too. I get really excited right before the weeks and just think, oh, I wonder, how everyone is and, what's the updates and things. I had a really exciting piece of news today. My book went live as an audiobook. It's been something that I was working on with a woman. She's an actress in LA and has this whole studio, etc. So she was the narrator. And we've been working on it since October. I thought when we first started, I said, oh, this is great. We'll have it ready for Christmas. 8 months later. And everything takes longer as usual, but very exciting. And it's now up and live on Audible. So that feels very exciting, like a piece that I've visualized and seen for a while. So that feels really exciting, really good. So today, what we're going to be talking about, writing about, visualizing is making amends and practicing forgiveness, which are basically what I consider two sides to the same coin. So does everybody get the difference between amends and forgiveness? Is that a concept that you guys are familiar with?
Yeah.
Kinda? Do you want clarification or?
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to talk about stuff. Yeah, we know. Making amends is when we've done something wrong, when what we perceive as wrong, even if no one else saw it or no one else is calling us on it. It's when inside we've got that knot in our stomach or that knot at our throat or our heart is hammering or we feel uncomfortable in our skin and we think, I need to make this right. And so making amends either to a person, a place, or even to self. So owning it when we do something. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is if someone has wronged us, it's practicing forgiveness to forgive them. So the way that I think of making amends is both of them. The reason I say they're two sides of the same coin, both of them are for us. They are not for the other person, although if you have to practice some kind of restitution because you stole some money or you hurt somebody, then you're making it up to the person. But mostly both of them are for us so that we can free ourselves from that clenching feeling. I think of amends as cleaning up my side of the street. Because if I just keep walking on my side of the street and I keep my side of the street clean, it's going to make my life easier and clearer. And this can be really hard, like if you're in a relationship with a sibling or a partner or a close friend, and you've been engaged in something together. I'll use myself as an example with my husband and Jeff. And sometimes Jeff will do something that's really shitty and that I get really pissed off about. But in terms of practicing this paradigm, what I need to do is I need to step back, take a breath and think, okay, what's my part in this? And I need to own my part. And sometimes what that requires, and this can be really uncomfortable and hard, what it requires is me actually going to Jeff and saying, you know, in that argument we had, or when that happened, I really see how the part that I played. And I really see that I did this and this. And when I went off and gave you the silent treatment, that really didn't help communication at all. And I just want to own that and say that I apologize for my part in that. And then, to be perfectly honest, I'll usually stand there with my arms crossed and look at him like, okay, your turn. However, the thing that's really important to remember is that he doesn't have to do anything, or the other person doesn't have to do anything. That's out of our control. And so we cannot expect for the other person to dovetail in and make their amends just because we did. So that's the thing that's really important, and that it's taken me years to learn. I haven't learned it. It's taken me years to keep learning and trying to practice, because I so want to be right. And I so want us to say, yeah, I did this, but it's because you, blah, blah, blah. So practicing amends and just being willing to say, I'm keeping my own street clean. I'm doing this so that not in my stomach dissipates. I'm gonna just go forward with this and not expect the other person to make amends too. And that can be really hard. Do you guys get what I mean? Does anybody want to say anything to that, or have any examples of their own?
Oh, can't think immediately. I'm sure I've got heaps.
Yeah, I know. I've got so many. Recently with my sister, we had some real stuff like this, and I really wanted to blame her because she's the one that backed off and said, I can't even talk to you for a while. And it was so painful. And when we finally started talking and we're working through this, I wanted to say, yeah, but you're the one that, and that doesn't serve communication and it doesn't serve relationship. What I need to do is own it for me so it's clear. And if I am feeling really pissed off, which I do get sometimes, the healthiest thing for me to do is journal about it or write out some real shitty stuff and then tear it up. Because me laying my crap on somebody else is not going to serve the relationship, and it's not going to serve me. And so that's the amends side. And also sometimes, looking back and realizing some shitty stuff I've done, sometimes I need to go forward and make restitution even years after the fact. Yeah. When I was younger, I used to, I did some not pretty stuff, stole from people, took things that weren't mine, was not very nice to friends, and would flirt with their boyfriends, that kind of shit. I haven't done that in a long time, thank God. But when I first started learning about this, I had to go back and say, my behavior at that point was really not okay. And own it and just say, I own that behavior. And sometimes it wasn't always like everybody cried and said, oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes friends of mine said, yeah, you do owe an apology, and thank you for that, but I really don't want to have anything to do with you. And that has happened to me because my behavior was rather abhorrent at times in my life. But by me cleaning up my side of the street, it gave me the spaciousness. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So anybody want to talk about that side, the amends side? No?
Yeah, I think I find that the more I look into this and the more I take responsibility for whatever maybe poor communication or even ignorance has been there at the time, or naivety, sometimes I have acted out in a certain way and haven't really seen what I was doing clearly because I was too busy resenting the other person for their stuff, especially around my family. I mean, I fell out big time with some of my brothers after my parents died, and it was a very painful time. And I think, when I look into the fact that all of us were grieving and all of us had our own personal story around our grieving and around our place in the family and all kinds of things, that when I stopped judging their behavior as abhorrent to me in my grief and saw it as the only way they could respond in their grief, it became a much easier thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I still don't like some of the behaviors, mine included, that happened then, when it comes up now, I throw love at it.
Yeah.
And I just keep throwing love at it. I just keep on going, oh man, we were all hurting. Oh man, I was hurting. Oh, ow, that was really sore. And that shifted a whole bunch of stuff in me, that I'm not sitting in this little pile of resentment wondering why the shit's so deep.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
when actually it was just the way it was, and letting go of my attachment to being the right person and the wronged person, letting go of my attachment to that has really helped me be able to go, wow, you know, they've probably got their own completely similar point of view that I had. Yep. Just from their side of the street. And so, yeah, cleaning up my area and just going, well, this is my contribution to that particular mess, and I can heal that.
Yeah,
I can heal that and invite them to heal with me, rather than sit there and go, you said and you did and I couldn't, and therefore.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And I love the way that you said you throw love at it, because Kristen Neff talks a lot about self-compassion. I mean, it really dovetails beautifully from last week. Self-compassion is so important when we're dealing with amends and forgiveness. And those two always travel together, because it's rarely one person that's at fault in a normal relationship. Of course, there are circumstances where really horrible shit happens that have nothing to do with us, you know, that it was not our fault in any way. We didn't participate, you know, rape or domestic abuse or violence, where it's in no way, shape, or form anything to do with us. And I really want to make that clear. And again, self-compassion's really important there too, that we can realize and own, man, none of this was mine. None of this was mine. And then that ties into going forward with forgiveness. And there's so much written about why forgiveness is important. Annie Lamott says, not forgiving someone is like drinking rat poison and expecting the rat to die. And I love that. You know, I love that. It's like, I'm not going to forgive you. I'm going to hold it against you, and I'm never talking to you again. Ha, you'll see. And what it does is it literally internally hurts us. You know, I have a list of some things from the Mayo Clinic that they talk about, that forgiveness, the actual physical effect on our body if we do not practice forgiveness, because of the brain chemistry, and what the brain chemistry then does to the rest of our body. It puts it into hyper stress. So, you know, that piece is so important. And forgiveness and compassion are so closely linked. Thich Nhat Hanh says forgiveness will not be possible until compassion is born in your heart. So it's about self-compassion and compassion for others. And that's so, so important. And the thing that I really, really want to emphasize is that both the making amends and practicing forgiveness is for us, is for the forgiver. It really is. And even though we feel like, well, I am never going to do you the honor of forgiving you, that's not how it works. It will hurt us. Forgiveness is defined as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward another person or group that has harmed you, regardless of whether you believe or not that they deserve your forgiveness. It does not mean that you deny the seriousness. It does not mean that you forget or excuse it. And it doesn't mean that you have to reconcile with the person. Anne Lamott says forgiveness means finally it becomes unimportant that you hit back. You're done. It's over. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to have lunch with the person. It just means that by not hitting back, you can walk away from the nightmare. So much of that is about, sort of saying, I'm not giving away my power by practicing forgiveness towards someone. Instead, I'm taking my power back and I'm getting some space. And I think that all of us can think about times and people that were really hard to forgive. I couldn't own exactly what it meant, but it took me years and years of time and of therapy for me to get to a point where I could forgive my mother. Because as a child, what I saw was my mother chose alcohol over me. She wasn't there to cook, to take care of me, to do things properly. And then she fucking died when I was a kid because she drank herself to death, quite literally. And so I was furious. I didn't know that. I mean, it was sadness was right there, and confusion, etc. But after going through so many years of therapy, I got to the point where I saw I need to forgive her for me. And of course, I can have compassion now for her, realizing she was just a really unhappy woman. And, I can see all the reasons. But I think something that's often confusing for people, it certainly was for me, is that we're often coached to forgive. Oh, just forgive and forget. Just let that go. But until we do the work around it first, what a therapist once told me, and I put it in the book because it was so powerful. If we try and forgive a person first before we're ready, it's like putting a bandage over a dirty, gaping wound. That wound will continue to fester and get infected and smell and get yucky because we haven't cleaned it out. So if for example, God forbid, someone is a victim of rape, to just say, oh, well, I forgive the rapist. He didn't know better. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I forgive him, but haven't done any of the work associated with that huge traumatic experience. It's not healing it. So that's a really important piece to remember, is that we have to do the work of excavating and taking that horrible experience out, distancing ourselves from it, and then moving into a place where we can forgive. But it often takes years of therapy or work of some kind before you can get there. And so just saying, oh, well, Patty said that forgiving is really important to my well-being. So although you broke my arm when you wrenched it behind my back, I'm just going to forgive you. Because that's not healthy. There's a big difference there. Forgiving means we've taken care of ourselves. We've removed ourselves from a dangerous situation. We've done therapy if it's been a traumatic situation. And then we get to the point where we say, you know what, asshole, fuckface, I'm forgiving you for me, not for you. I don't want to have lunch with you. I don't ever want to see you again. I don't want you in any sphere of my reality, but I am going through the process of forgiving to let you go because I don't like the stringy, dicky, yucky things that are still on my body from you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Loud and clear.
Just really quickly, and I'll send this to you guys. I will send you the quotes and the list, but Mayo Clinic literally did huge studies on this. What happens when we're in a place of resentment and anger in our brain? It's releasing chemicals that are similar to extreme stress. What that does is it impacts our body in so many ways. It lowers the immune system. It actually increases blood pressure, causes anxiety and stress. So what their study did is, after doing therapy with people and helping people move to a place of forgiveness, they followed, I think there were 250 people in the study, could have been even 350. And these were people that suffered from traumatic experiences. And they went through, helped them get to the place of forgiveness, and they found much healthier relationships. People that had had marriage breakups were able to remarry and have solid, good relationships. Much better spiritual and psychological well-being, much less anxiety, stress, and hostility, lower blood pressure, much fewer symptoms of depression, much stronger immune system, improved heart health, and a much higher self-esteem. So it's worth moving to it. So does anybody want to share anything as a group before we go into journaling? Anything that is up for anybody? Okay.
No, I'm good.
What I want to do is I want to go to journal, but because the this visualization can be very powerful, and I want to get some journaling done first. So what I want to do, I'll put on some music and journal about just exploring this concept for yourself. First of all, you may write, Patty's full of shit, and I am never, ever going to forgive that person because they don't deserve it, whatever. And that's fine. I'm just giving you stuff I've studied. But is there anyone that you're holding on to anger about that you cannot forgive, that you feel like, I just can't forgive that fuckface because I hate him, and that's it? So is there anybody that you cannot forgive? So explore that. And if so, what is stopping you from practicing forgiveness? When you, is there any situation that you feel like you can't revisit because you can't even contemplate making amends or dealing with that situation? Is there anything in your past that you just feel like that's too big? That one's impossible. When you think of an event or the person that either did you harm or that you harmed, when you think of that event, where do you feel it in your body? So noticing in your body. And if it's about making amends or practicing forgiveness, what would help you get to a place where you could make amends or practice forgiveness? So that's a lot of concepts, and just sort of write and explore. See what comes up. Be open, because a lot of stuff will trickle in. It always does. So I'll put on some music first of all and just take some time to journal. Okay, let's come back into group. Okay, looked like everybody was writing a lot. It kind of brings up stuff. So you don't have to share any of this. Obviously, this is very much between yourself and the people. Also, another thing that's really important to note here is that when you are practicing forgiveness, you don't ever have to tell the other person. If somebody did something really shitty to you, you don't have to go up to them and say, oh, by the way, I forgive you, or, even engage in any kind of a conversation. It's really an internal self process. So it's really unimportant for the other person to ever know. That you often, I've often read about people that will go into prison and actually have a face-to-face to tell the person that, murdered their friend that they forgive them. And that's very dramatic, and that may be helpful and healthy for that person, but that is not required for actually getting that cleansing that we get by doing the forgiveness. The forgiveness is a very personal process. And also, even with amends, if by going back to a person and saying, oh, by the way, I'm sorry because I did this, and it's somehow going to hurt that person, or it's going to be somehow negative for anyone involved, that's not important either. Sometimes just making the restitution and creating the amends is a personal process, and that's really important to remember. So yeah, it may be writing a letter and then burning it. It may be doing some kind of ritual for self. So that's really important to remember. It doesn't always have to involve other people, unless of course you stole money and you have to go pay it back. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I would love to hear anything that's anybody wants to share, perhaps even just about the process of doing this.
Well, I'm quite happy to jump in.
Thanks,
that was very powerful. Because what I looked at action. I looked at a whole bunch of stuff that just came up straight away. I mean, it started off dealing with the way one of my brothers treated me after my parents died, and leading up to their death, and stuff in the house. And there was a lot of real, very deep hurt involved in that. But then from there it went back to previous relationships and patterns of behavior, and it became about having a really good look at what I enabled in terms of my own part in the behaviors. And that, how did I put it? It was that, I opened myself in trust, hungry for love and approval, and gave away my power. And that the part of me that I didn't value myself enough to say no to some of the behaviors, which of course allowed their behavior to continue unchecked.
Yeah.
And that when I looked at that thing, my repeating something over and over, similar mistakes again and again, same result, just different disguises, different ways. And what I looked at with that was, what would happen if I forgave first myself for being the way I was, that I made myself quite an easy target in a way, which is not that, that perhaps the people in my life that took advantage of me the way they did, they may have been as naive as I was, for all I know. What I do know is that I need to find enough compassion in myself to accept my part in any of that, and that if I wasn't strong enough to speak up when things that I didn't like were happening, then maybe I gave the impression that it was okay for those things to keep happening. And it's not about beating myself up there. I was the way I was for a whole bunch of different reasons, but it was just being able to see that as as being part of the vehicle for what happened was that I didn't have that kind of strength. And that if I can forgive myself for being the way I was for a whole bunch of reasons, it's easier then to forgive them for their part too.
Yeah.
It's not an easy place to sit, but it's an okay place to sit because it's just looking at it from a slightly different perspective. That I don't want to carry around my life feeling pissed off about my brother or the men in my life that took so much from me that I actually gave so freely because I didn't know any better. And in that way, it's like, gosh, if I'd spoken up, maybe they wouldn't have gone on and done it to somebody else either. But that's how it was, and it's up to me now to change that in myself now. And that makes it easier to forgive, actually. So it does a lot more, but that's just a little insight in.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And just really appreciating the compassion that you're showing yourself as well. Because we need compassion, a lot of self-compassion when we look back at this stuff and think about making amends and practicing forgiveness. There's so much laden on it, and we often beat ourselves up mercilessly around
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's painful stuff. Yeah. Shalane or Stacy, do either one of you want to?
I had a nephew come up and stay with me like a few years ago, and I paid his ticket. I treated him really nice and shop for him and took him out for meals. And we were up at our cabin, and then he came back to our house, and he took my husband's sports car for a joyride. And my husband was so mad, and I was so angry at him for probably a year personally, just because he took advantage of us. You know, he could have asked to drive my car. I would have told him where the keys were. But he went through my husband's things to find his keys. And I was so angry. And then I went to visit my mom, and he was going to be there at Christmas. And I was just so mad. But I forgave him personally without even talking to him. Like, I just let it go. And, you know, I understand, like, you don't have to actually, he probably didn't even know it was bugging me. Like, he probably thought no big deal. But it bugged me for a long time. But I've forgiven him, like, through journaling and through being around him. And but I don't think I would give him the opportunity to get close to us like that again, like have him like spend a weekend in my home or anything. Like,
yeah.
And the other two people that have really hurt me, like, it's been so long and so much time has passed, and I've done the therapy and the forgiveness. But when the things happened, like, I was married to my kid's dad, and we were together like 18 years, and he admitted to cheating. Like, it all came down, and like, I lost my self-worth, like, and it took years to believe. You know, I was thinking I'm not good enough. Like, what's the matter with me? Like, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not this. And it took so many years to feel like a good, good enough. But yeah, the forgiveness comes, like, it's 12 years later, and you just want them to be happy. If he's happy, my kids are happy. And
yeah, but that takes a lot. Yeah, that's a real betrayal, and it does. And what we tend to do with that, about making it about us, even though it's not about us. But having to work through that to get there. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that, Shalane. How about you, Stacy? Do you want to share anything?
I just kind of noticed that, there's kind of a pattern that, and you could always think that, well, you kind of, how you always kind of play a part in it too, that you have some, like how Rosie was talking about, that you kind of need to forgive yourself first and recognize that you played a part in it by either not standing up for yourself or, just not, standing up and saying, well, that hurt me, or, whatever was going on, that, that, and, you need to acknowledge that there's kind of a pattern and that, you need to take responsibility.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there is often a pattern. We often have a way of playing through it. And certainly when I started doing this work, I really saw my patterns that were very much about, oh, it's fine. And I was always the one that, I was the mascot of the family, and I made everything fine. And I
Mm.
just was cute and tried, and it's like, instead of, owning up that stuff. Oof. We're going to go into a visualization, but before we start, just want to know does anyone want to add anything else or ask any questions or talk about anything else that's up with that?
I just was wondering, we had somebody at work, a volunteer, that ended up scamming us for quite a bit of money.
Oh,
We've never seen him again right after, he took all the money, but my coworker, the executive director, did talk to him once. He actually called St. Vincent de Paul and asked us for help.
wow.
To help him after all this had happened. She was very Christian and was able to, kind of forgive him in her mind, but we didn't help him anymore. But I just wondering, is it even important? Do I need to forgive him since I'd never see him again? Unless it's something that's bothering me.
No, that's a really good question. The answer lies within you. So when you think of this person, what happens internally? Do you get a knot in your stomach, or do you just think, boy, he was a creep and not a big deal? Because it didn't impact you directly as much. He didn't
Right.
so to speak.
Exactly.
So it may not have tentacles on you, but if when you think of him, you still like tense up and think, oh, or whatever, then I'd say that it would be healthy to do, like, you could bring him up and put him in the visualization that we'll be going through. You could bring him up and say, I'm forgiving you and letting you go because I don't want you to have any space inside of me anymore. I mean,
Okay.
that's basically the main thing, is that we're saying, whoever that person is, you do not deserve to have any space in my head anymore. You are living there rent free, and you're not welcome. And not only are you taking up space in my head, but you're giving me a stomach ache, or you're making my heart hurt, or whatever. So basically, we're doing it to take care of ourselves. So if, when you think of this person, you tighten up and you feel that visceral reaction, then I'd suggest you try and let that go in the visualization.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments about that? One of the reasons I really love this visualization, I did it the first time about 20 years ago, I think. I did it in a Silva workshop. And one of the reasons I love it is because of the science behind it, that there is a lot of talk about through visualization. We can write about it, and that's helpful. It's a creative release, and it's a visceral release. But by actually doing it as a visualization, we're impacting our brain more, so that we're choosing to derail, I guess is the best way to put it, a neural pathway that we've held. And that when we're holding on to resentment, or we're holding on to some kind of frustration or anger, we've got a neural pathway that rides on. And that by choosing forgiveness and doing it quite visually through this visualization, it helps to derail that and shift into something else. So this is a bit longer, this visualization, because we're going through kind of two processes. What I really, really want you to allow for, if possible, is that one of the reasons in visualization that I go through all of the relaxation and getting down and going into the deepest place and taking the time to get to the creative space is because it really brings us down into into what's called alpha state, which is a slowing down of your brain waves. We're not in that sort of hyper alert place. And by slowing down the brain waves, going into alpha state and even into theta, which is the one below that, by doing that, we are slowing down our busy brains and therefore being more open to our subconscious. When we're open to our subconscious, that's where inspiration comes in, and also an openness. So during this visualization, I'm going to say, allow whoever comes in to come in. And there may be some people that come into your visualization to ask for forgiveness or to be forgiven. And you may not exactly understand why at first. You may think, God, I didn't invite you in. Why are you here? But allow it, because generally speaking, there's something in your unconscious or subconscious that's bringing it forward. Now, if somebody comes in and you're like, no, you don't belong here, you still have control. So you don't have to say, oh, well, you're here, I guess I have to do it. So don't say, no, I'm not ready for either. I'm not ready for it, or no, this doesn't fit. You can say, off you go, and just send them exit stage left. And that's okay. Because the whole time, remember, you do have control over this. So it's about 25-minute visualization. So if you have to go pee, go ahead and go pee. Or if you need some water, go ahead and get some water. Otherwise, I'm going to mute you and allow you to get comfy. So take the time you need. Any questions or anything before you go? No? Okay, I'm muting you guys, so you're all muted now. And I am going to pull up the screen so that you don't have to watch each other or watch the watch this. That can be really confusing. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to shrink that, and I'm going to shrink that and move that out of the way. Okay, so now getting relaxed, and I'll put on some music. Okay, Rosie's back. Okay, great. Everybody's comfortable now? Great. All right. Okay, so take a deep breath now. Take a deep breath in and out. And another breath in and out. And a final breath in now. Oh, and as you exhale, let go of any tension that you're still holding. Let go of any tension that's still sitting in your shoulders. Try and relax your head and your shoulders and get comfortable. As you start to let go. And now, starting with your feet, maybe flex your feet as you begin to let any tension drain out of your toes and your feet. Coming up to your ankle now, maybe circulating your ankles if they're tight, feeling your feet supported and knowing that you can just let go now. And moving up your shins, your calves, and your thighs, and up to your hips, feeling your legs. Just relax now, feeling them heavy and relaxed. as you let go. Moving up now to your back, allowing your back to just relax, knowing that wherever you're sitting or laying, that you can be fully supported and you can let go. Relaxing each vertebrae, going up your spine. Feeling your body heavy now, heavy and relaxed. Going to your shoulders now, feeling any tension that's in your shoulders, just relaxing, any tension melting away. Almost as though it was warm wax in your shoulders, dripping down your arms, dripping past your elbows to your lower arms, to your hands. Perhaps your hands feel the heat and warmth from that warm wax. Feeling your arms and your hands heavy as you let go. Moving up your neck, those last upper vertebrae as you let go. And really relax and let your head go now. Our necks work so hard holding up our head. Just allow your head to drift back, supported, so that you can fully relax your body and your neck. Going up now to your back of your skull, perhaps feeling a tingling in your hair follicles as you relax your skull. And moving now to your forehead, any small muscles in your forehead, and the small muscles around your eyes. Feeling your face tingling as you let go and relax. Maybe allow your mouth to fall open slightly as you just relax your jaw. Our jaw muscles work hard all day. So just let go of any tension that's left anywhere in your body as you fully relax your body now. And in front of you, I want you to see some stairs. We're going to go down these stairs, and with each stair that you go down, each step you go down, you're going to become more and more relaxed. Going down the steps, 10, 9, 8, becoming more and more relaxed as you go down, 7, 6, 5, feeling your whole body just relaxing, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your body is completely relaxed now, completely relaxed and open. Now in front of you, I want you to see a door. I want you to reach out now and open that door and close it behind you. And now in front of you, you see a wide open meadow. This meadow is open and sunny. Perhaps you see green grass shimmering as you walk through the meadow. Look around and see if you see any wildflowers. You know this meadow. This is that wide open meadow of potential. Wide open and beautiful. Take a deep breath here as you stand in this meadow, feeling the sunshine. Completely relaxed in this beautiful open meadow. Now walk to the edge of the meadow now. And you see the path. And recognize the path. This is the path that will take you to your creative space. Start walking down this path. feeling the dappled sunlight as you walk under the shade of the trees along the path. And there in front of you, you see your creative space. Go now, go to your space and go inside. Look around inside your creative space and see what you notice. It's possible that some things have changed, and just accept that. Accept that your unconscious is putting new things in there if needing. And what I want you to do now is I want you to go to your creative chair that you've gone to before and sit in that chair. Get comfortable. And now in front of you, you don't see a screen, you don't see a table, but you see in front of you now, in front of your creative chair, there's space between you and a big golden frame. It's a huge gilded golden frame. It's sitting upright as though framing something in front of you, but there's just blackness behind it at the moment. It's upright and it's huge. And you're just looking at the frame now. This frame is a magical frame. This is the frame of forgiveness. And in this frame, you are going to be inviting people in order to ask forgiveness and in order to forgive. So first of all, while you're sitting there, I just want you to feel open and to know that your subconscious is at work here. It's open, you're protected, you're safe, and that your subconscious is going to help you invite people through to help you with this very important piece of forgiveness now. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to invite people into the frame for whom you feel you owe an apology, that you want to ask for amends, that you want to give amends and ask for forgiveness. And it may be that some people come through that you weren't expecting, and if it feels as though you don't owe an apology to this person, you are not bound to apologize. But just know if someone comes through that you can offer your apology. Most of the time, things that we've done in the past, it wasn't our intention to hurt people. So starting now, take your time and invite people onto this place, this frame. Invite them into the frame and offer amends. You can invite them one by one, or perhaps they'll come on their own, but just allow them to come on. They're entering from the left, standing in the frame while you offer your amends, and allow them to exit to the right. Take your time now while you offer your amends, while you ask for forgiveness to anyone that you've harmed in the past. There may be more people that you want to bring on to offer amends to, and you may choose to go back to this at another time, knowing that you can come back to this frame anytime to invite people on to offer amends. But now we're going to now invite people onto the frame, into the frame, whom we would like to forgive. Sometimes people come through that you weren't expecting. And if you feel it in your heart that you have the capacity to forgive them, then allow that forgiveness to flush through you. At first, you can invite people on and into the frame. Invite them in, coming in from the left and exiting to the right. Invite them in and allow them to be there in the middle of the frame, and allow them to offer their own amends to you, however it comes out. Perhaps it'll just be an image of them, and you can choose how it feels best to forgive them. And if it feels as though you can't forgive them, or you don't feel as though you have the capacity at this point, then that's fine. Just ask them to leave. Taking the time now, sitting in your very safe space, invite people in so that you can practice forgiveness for your own healing. And now allow that last person to finish. And there may be more that you're wanting to bring on, or there may be more that are waiting. Know that you can go back anytime and practice. This frame is now a permanent part of your creative space, your sacred space, and you can go back and use this frame of forgiveness anytime. So wait until the frame is now black. There's no one left. And stand up from your creative chair. Walk back into the center of your space. Take a last look around with the knowledge that you can come back here anytime. The frame will be there, the chair will be there, and the space will be there anytime for you. And now go back to the door, open the door, close it behind you. And now you're on the path with the dappled sunlight as you walk forward. And you come to the wide open meadow now. Take a last look around. Feeling the sunshine on your face. Noticing the wildflowers. And walk across the meadow now. Come to that door and open the door and close it behind you, and you see some stairs in front of you. And as you go up the stairs, you become more and more conscious, coming back into yourself as you go up the stairs, going up the stairs 1, 2, 3, starting to feel your body on the chair or where it's sitting, 4, 5, starting to wiggle your fingers, 6, 7, wiggling your toes and feeling your body now, 8, 9, 10, feeling your body, feeling yourself coming back into the room, back into consciousness, sitting up, coming back into the space. I'm going to leave it muted for a few minutes now so you can go into your journal and take some notes. Write anything that came to you, if anything at all. What happened as you were in that space and with the frame of forgiveness. I'll give you about 5 minutes so that you can take some notes from there now. One more minute. You can always go back to the journal and journal more later. Just one more minute to finish writing whatever thoughts are up for you at the moment. Okay. I will go in and unmute you. Yep, you're back. And yeah, if you could just say, how was that for you? If anything surprised you, what experiences you had? Anybody want to start?
Okay.
Thanks, Rosie.
The first thing that really surprised me was when I got to my sacred space and walked in, the room was completely bare. There was nothing in there at all.
Wow.
It was sunny but empty, and there was just a beanbag. And I sat down in the beanbag, and it was like, I thought, this is good. There's nothing in here to distract me. And then when the frame came in, it was like I understood why it was empty, because I needed a completely clean slate, actually. And it was quite, I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah, interesting.
And then while I was there, I mean, I was surprised at who walked in, and that I had quite a few amends to make and quite a lot of sorries to say, but it was not, I don't know, it just felt like, oh, of course, yep, you're here, and wow, I can see I hurt you too. It was a really interesting thing, that it was just seeing my own part, and I did not expect that to happen.
Yeah,
it was quite interesting. And I got so, at one point, I think I nearly floated away because I just got so there and so relaxed in that place. And then when it was time to leave and I closed the door and I got back to the meadow, I just felt like dancing. I felt so light and so joyful and just like, phew. And then here we are. That's it. It brought me a lot of peace.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it was, I did not expect that.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. And I love how your unconscious, subconscious just created that space so that you'd have the spaciousness to just focus.
Because I was getting ready to look at all the stuff I usually have in there, and it was like, where's it all gone?
Who's been in here and stolen my stuff?
It was totally empty.
Wow, interesting. Really interesting. Awesome. Thanks, Rosie.
With me, I had like two people that really showed up. Like I had a friend, like when I was young, she was like, I was like maybe 11 or 12, and her name was Trisha, and she had a lot of bruises on her, and I didn't, now you look back on it, I think there was abuse going on in her home, and I never talked to her about it. I was never allowed at her house, but she could sleep at my house. We'd meet out, but I feel like, I think she was like abused, like, but I never talked to her about it, and you just didn't know what to say. Like, I think as a child, you don't know, if you're not subjected to abuse, you don't know abuse.
Yeah.
But now thinking back on it, I think she was abused. And I didn't do anything about it. But yeah, we're not friends. She was friends with me like up to high school, and then we lost touch or whatever. So I feel really bad that I never talked to her about like why she had bruises on her.
Okay.
And my younger sister, like I never realized I was holding on to hurt from her too. Like when she was in my frame, my dad passed away, and when he passed away, my younger sister was there, I was there, and my dad's sister was there. And we had him cremated. So I put the expenses on my credit card. My dad had nothing. And there was a death benefit, like you apply for it with the government, and that was going to go back on my card. And my husband was, my first husband, was really mad at me for putting money on our credit card. And I was so mad at him because I thought, you know, my dad died and he was giving me trouble about that. So the death money was supposed to go back on there and it would have been a wash. But my sister got the check, my younger sister, and she spent it and she never gave it to me. I never realized, like, she caused a rift in my marriage and she spent that money. So I didn't realize I was holding on to that anger or hurt there too. And then when you're reliving the hurts of people, you're thinking like, that hurts. It hurts like as if it happened right now. And, you know, what you did was not okay, like the different people that have hurt you. But then, you know, they're all people close to you. So when you say, I love and forgive you, it just felt like it washed away, like the hurt. That was probably about it.
Thanks, Shalane. How about you, Stacy?
A few surprising people, I guess, not as powerful as all the rest of you, but I had a girl that kind of teased me and stuff a lot in high school. I had her come up and I was surprised. I was very, ready to forgive her and able to let, that go. But I had a doctor in high school. I was having a problem. I would get like nauseous and I was losing weight. I was really significantly underweight and he kept doing all that. Never did find out couldn't figure out what was causing it physically. So he just started accusing me of being anorexic. And it wasn't true at all. And I still wasn't really able to forgive. And I still don't like doctors. So I still get a knot in my stomach from any doctor, especially male doctors. So, yeah. Need to work on that, I guess.
Well, when you're ready, that's pretty horrible to be, laying that on a kid,
I think that he just couldn't find a physical reason, and it could have been, stress or, nerves or something maybe that was causing it, and, that there wasn't a physical reason, or he didn't dig deep enough, but it's like, no, I'm not doing it to myself.
Yeah, exactly. I was quite taken aback because when I'm leading, I usually, stay pretty present, but I always close my eyes when I'm leading and then just sort of go in. And because there's such long periods of silence in it to allow for each person to have their own process, I actually had several people come into the frame as well, and I was quite surprised. So I'm, I wasn't on the screen, which is good, but I started crying. I had tears going down my face. It was, I went pretty deep, considering the fact that I was holding the group. I wasn't paying that close attention to time, but I was happy when I looked at the time and I hadn't just been gone for, 20 minutes or something. Oh, but yeah, that was, it felt powerful. Yeah. So we are, as usual, well over time, but before we talk about some of the things for next week, any other questions, comments, anything else you want to talk about before we close? No? Okay.
No, that was enough to go on.
Okay.
It was a lot. And
yeah,
a lot of gratitude for that exercise. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Rosie. I really encourage you to journal some more, even though this was, a 25-minute exercise overall, and it was only one piece. A lot of stuff can come up because it's still working in a lot of fields of energy. So I suggest that you keep journaling about it and just allow what uncovers, and be gentle with yourself for the rest of the day or night, because it does kind of leave us open. So also, I will send this out. I'll put it on Facebook and I'll send it out. But the actual Frame of Forgiveness video is available on YouTube. That I recorded it and put it on YouTube. It's not as long as this one was, but I will send a link for that if you want to do it again with my voice, because sometimes having a voice take you down is easier. But you can do it on your own. And honestly, if you take yourself back to your creative space, you can sit in the chair and say, I'm bringing up the frame, and the frame will show up again. It always does, eventually. But sometimes it can be frustrating if you're not getting it and you're like, Patty said this would. So I'll send you the link for that. Keep journaling about that experience, and just also be paying attention this week. If you're seeing yourself going into something, owning it and keeping your side of the street clean as you go, and just notice if anything else happens, how you're feeling around the whole piece of forgiveness. If it does feel stuck or uncomfortable, I encourage you to move forward with some creativity, whether it's just playing with color in a notebook. And, if you're feeling angry or frustrated with it, using some dark colors and pressing hard, or if you're feeling like you're letting it go, just allowing that freedom. Creativity, as we said last week, is one of the best ways to stay connected to that. I will also send some links. Tara Brock does some great talks about forgiveness. She talks about RAIN, which is about releasing and accepting and moving through, which is beautiful. And there's a link for something called The Forgiving Heart. And then Jack Kornfield does a beautiful meditation on forgiveness. There's also an article that I have that's The Power of Forgiveness. So I'll send all of those links to you in Facebook and online so that you can go through those if you choose. Again, they're not homework. It's just if you choose. And next week is our final week, and it's going to be focusing on gratitude and about connecting to our source. So we'll have a longer meditation again, and we'll be talking about gratitude. If you do not have a gratitude journal yet, I suggest you find a gratitude journal. I personally feel like it's really important to have a journal that's separate from regular journaling. So I've got several journals that I keep at different times for whatever's available, and I'll find it and I'll grab it. But I have one that's specific that I use that's just for gratitude. And I've had it for a couple of years. I've got many gratitude journals, but this particular one I have for a couple of years because I only use it when I'm writing about gratitude. And sometimes I'll write 3 things, and sometimes I'll write pages. So if you don't have one, I suggest that you find yourself a gratitude journal. They are essential, in my opinion. And we'll be talking about the blessings of gratitude and about connecting to source and connecting to intuition, because gratitude and intuition dovetail beautifully. And following along after this week, because forgiveness does open our heart. So be gentle with yourself. We tend to be kind of vulnerable after this, and that moving into a place, after being in a place of doing forgiveness, being in a place where we're going to open up to inspiration and intuition follows really nicely. So before we close, maybe we could go around the circle and say just sort of something that you took from today, or something that you are thinking about or feeling inside after today. Just something to close before we exit. So, Rosie, can I start with you and then go around?
Yeah, okay. The frame of forgiveness exercise is what I'm holding on to for today. It's been, I really liked it.
Good.
It's really nice to be here after a hard few days and to come into that and get something I did not expect. So
Awesome.
lovely to go there with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. How about you, Stacy?
I think just the concept that I guess I need to forgive myself first, and the part that I might have played in causing some of the anger, things that happen.
Yeah. And that, practicing the forgiveness of self and self-compassion, just being real gentle on our heart. Absolutely. And you, Shalyn?
I think it was just when I really said I love and forgive you, and it just felt like it washed it away. Like I had it all, bottled up, thinking, why should I forgive you? Like when it hurt so much, like when you thought about it again, it thought like, that wasn't okay. But even though I said I love and forgive you, it just felt like it washed away. So it felt like a big piece.
Yeah, exactly. And just that important piece of, it doesn't mean that what they did is okay. And it doesn't mean that that you're saying that behavior is all right, but you're washing it away so that you're not holding that stress and pain inside. You're forgiving in order for yourself to move forward, not to say, oh, well, you did that and I guess it's okay, because it's not.
No.
The behaviors that we're talking about aren't okay, but we're letting it wash away. So it's a beautiful analogy, that washing away, that rinsing off. I love that. Well, as always, I loved being with you guys today. Thank you so much. Thank you for just being here, for participating so fully and being so open and wonderful. It's just great. So I'll see you
Thank you.
next week.
Bye.